It is through getting real with oneself and creating space for a shift in perspective to occur that brings us home to ourselves, where we realize that all of who we are is welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of All of You is Welcome. Mhm. I am Ashley Eve, and I'm really excited to go on this journey with you. It feels really surreal to be here and be making the first episode of my podcast, my first solo episode. Um, yeah, feels really, really surreal. Um, Full disclosure, I've been recording episodes with guests and I just keep hearing like record your solo episode, record a solo episode. And so the order of things may be a little bit weird because I'm like, oh, my first episode, but this is actually like the fourth or fifth that I've sat with and recorded, but it's the first one that is going to be released to everyone and shown to everyone. Um, yeah, I'm not sure I felt called to share that, but I guess just full transparency, Um, what a beautiful process. What a beautiful place to be in. Um, the reason why I'm going to release this episode first, right? So I have the introduction and then I'm going to do this one is because I really want you all to get to know me a little bit on a deeper level and us to have a more intimate conversation um, where it's just me and it's just all of you listening or watching. So I thank you all for being here with me and yeah, just receiving me and whatever's going to come through. So I feel called to share a journal entry that I wrote. I wrote notes for what this episode was going to be about, just to have some like general guidance for myself. But in true, all of you is welcome fashion. Things are flowing in a different direction, and I think that's so beautiful. I had a journal entry that I wrote down that I was like, okay, this is the one that I am going to read. Like, read this to, like, on my first solo episode. I don't have that journal with me. I'm actually recording at my mom's right now. I am in a space of intentional travel. A lot of people call it, say nomad. I say I'm an intentional traveler, just doing the grid work out here. But my people, my family, um, are based in New Jersey, and that is where I am from. And so when I am weaving in and out of my travels, I find myself back here in New Jersey. And yeah, so that's where I currently am on the globe. um, but anyway, so I don't have that journal with me. And it's interesting because I have my journal that I'm currently writing in, and I just opened it up and came to this entry from May 27th, 2003. 2003. Interesting. 2023, not 2003. Um, May 27th, 2023. And which was only a few months ago. But I'm in such a different space and embodiment and frequency, and it's just really cool. But I was guided to this page. I literally just opened it up and I was like, okay. So I'm going to share it with you and sort of open up the space in this way. And again, thank you for receiving me. Yeah. I've been cracked wide open by the shadows that dwell in the highest realm of my heart. There's nowhere left to hide in the presence of my light, so up and out the shadows rise. I've spent so much energy tending to the cracks, desperately trying to keep it all in. All eyes open, I look around and watch as the space slowly turns the warmest color of yellow. I exist in stillness as the cracks widen embracing the pain in my arms of unconditional love. All of you is welcome, I whisper to the shadows. You're worthy of the space you consume. The words flow from my mouth as I stream. The words flow from my mouth as a stream of light, co-creators of healing with the shadows. The more I speak, the brighter it gets as light flows through me from above and below. Existing in and embodying duality connects me to all there was, is, and ever will be, the multidimensional space of infinity. Compounding change with unconditional love, I am everything and no thing. Mhm. I have been in this space of my healing journey, of my awakening, of my walk back on this path of remembering my true essence and my soul. Um, I would say probably since 2017. I think I started to like really wake up from my deep slumber, from the slumber that I think we are all in until a certain point where we wake up. Um, Probably about like 2016, 2017. And it was a really dark time for me. I was kind of jolted awake, I would say. Um, I want to give a warning. I should have probably given this at the beginning of the episode, but I will say it now so that if anyone wants to, pause or stop the episode, they're able to do so and they're able to make that choice. There may be a little bit of a trigger that comes up here. I'm going to be speaking about my own experience with um, suicidal thoughts. And yeah, so I just want to open up the space and mention that before I continue forward. And yeah, okay. So I don't remember the exact year, 2016, 2017. Leading up to that time in my life, I was someone that was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and ADHD. My anxiety ruled my life. Quite frankly, every action was made in fear. Every action was made from a space of how is this going to affect the people around me? What is this going to look like in the future? Yeah, just like a total lack of presence. And I lived that way my whole life. I thought it was normal. I had a therapist tell me that I was one of the worst cases of anxiety that she'd ever seen. And this lady was older in age, and that the only thing that would really help me was medication. And so I listened to her. She's a professional, right? And so I went on medication and I went on Lexapro. And fast forward like a few months to a year, I was in this space of total numbness. I wasn't feeling anything. I wasn't feeling joy. I wasn't feeling sadness. I wasn't feeling pain. I just was. I was very neutral, and not in the space of neutrality where you may hear people who have reached this pinnacle of spiritual enlightenment, where everything just is and it's all neutral. It was not that. And I was completely lost. I was a shell of the person that I was. And I'm not saying this isn't me bad mouthing medication. I think that everyone makes their own choices and has full autonomy of their body and what works best for them. Um, but I made that choice listening to another, um, and not listening to my own body because I was so disconnected from my body. And yeah, it got really, really dark. Um, I took myself off of the medication. This is not anything I say. This is my own journey. This is not me prescribing or telling people this is what you should or should not do. Take what resonates with you, leave what doesn't, as my dear friend and my mentor, Kelly, says. Um, and yeah, I just found myself in a really dark place. Um, and there was no light. Like, think of the darkest dungeons. And that's where I was. And I found myself in a space one day, um, in my apartment in West Orange when I lived in West Orange, on my bathroom floor, because for some reason the bathroom is always a space of like safety for me. And like, I felt like I was really, the bathroom's just, yeah, like a safe space where I'm protected from everything. And I go there when I'm feeling really unsafe. But I found myself um, in the bathroom with a knife to my wrist. And there was a split second in between me ending my life and me making the decision to call one of my dear friends at the time. Um, and it was like in that moment, it was like, you can choose this life or you can choose to end it. And I chose life. um, and I feel like that's really when I woke up. And I share all of this as a space for liberation for me, because this is something that I've hidden for a very long time. I have just began to tell my friends and family about this, other than my partner at the time and one of my friends at the time. No one else knew. And I feel like there is so much liberation and healing in speaking out our experiences, transmuting that pain through using our voice. And so that's what I'm doing here right now. Um, it's challenging. It's challenging for me because I don't like, I don't want to cause anyone harm. And I know this is a really sensitive topic, and it also brings stuff up in me that, I mean, I've healed through a lot of this. I've talked through this in therapy, sat with this pain, went into the depths of it, and have been able to heal those wounds and trauma that were deeply stored in my body. But I just know I'm not alone in the way that I felt when I was sitting on that bathroom floor. And I just am sending whoever is feeling this way, if you've ever felt this way at some point, if you're still struggling and feeling this way, I'm sending you so much love. And I'm sharing this so that you can see that there is hope, and that you are the light when there's no other light around you and you are in the darkness. You're the light. The light shines from within you, and you are not alone ever. Um, so yeah. And so I went through that experience and chose to live, and I chose my life. And in making that choice, I began to I began to question things. I began to question who I was, the things that I was believing in, the stories that I had written for myself and that others had written for me for my entire life up until that point. And I destroyed it all. It's been a gradual process, but it was from that moment on a journey of destruction and reconstruction. And I, during that process, found my voice. I reconnected to my heart. My heart was so closed and so blocked, and all of that energy and all of that pain was stored so deep in my body, and it just wanted a way out. And I thought my only way out was to no longer exist in this physical body as Ashley. And I thank God every day that something pulled me out of it. Something told me to you are like pick up the phone and call your friend. And I'm looking as I'm recording, I just looked up and my mom has these shelves and there is a little wooden plaque on it that says, "You are amazing. Remember that." And I think that's a message for me. It's a message for you. It's a message for all of us to sit in the space of the darkness and feel the pain and the weight that sometimes feels unbearable where we have no other option. There's always a choice. And this journal entry that I channeled through years later, I'm still moving through this stuff. I am still choosing to dive deep into the depths of my shadows and dissolve them and give them the space to come up and out so that the shadows and the light can coexist together, and they do. And as I do that, I become more of the light, and that light shines through. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's not something that, I snapped my fingers and I was like, all right, I choose life. Whew, everything's great. No. I sat in the darkness a lot longer. And the past few years have been a journey of walking, climbing up the stairs, living more in the light and the joy, going back down the stairs into the darkness, into the shadows, into the pain and the trauma and the anger and the resentment. And it's like doing this dance back and forth, back and forth. And there comes a point in time, I don't know when that is. I think we all experience it at different times, but it comes there comes a point where it's like it's sort of just and things start to balance out a little bit more and the energies start to neutralize and stabilize and we clear out more of the trauma and the karmic weight that we came here with to clear out so that we can be fully in this pillar of light and be in the joy and in the unconditional love. And I'm so thankful to be here. I'm so thankful that I heard whatever that guidance was, whatever came through, which I more and more am like, I feel like that was my divine self and God coming through. And from then until now, I have gone to therapy. I spent many years, I've been in and out of therapy since I was like 15 or 16. And my most recent experience with therapy was where it really cracked everything open. And so through therapy and taking the tools that my therapist gave me, in really rewiring the thought patterns in my brain and reparenting myself and sitting with my inner child and nurturing her and letting little Ashley know that she is safe and being present. Finding stillness in nature. These are just some of the things that were like so supportive for me and continue to be supportive for me. Um, but it comes back to being willing to sit with the shadows and give them the space. And my shadows come from deep ancestral trauma. And then in this lifetime, the trauma that I took on myself from my own karmic patterns that needed to be cleared with, being an only child raised in what people always called a broken household because my parents got divorced. And now I think about it and I'm like, why is that the narrative that we perpetuate? Why is that broken? Just because two people aren't raising a child doesn't mean that the space needs to be broken. Because my mom did everything that she could in her power to make sure that I was cared for. And I was fortunate to have my dad there along the journey with me, even though he didn't live with us. Um, in my childhood and growing up, and both my parents are still with me. I didn't mean to speak in past tense like that, um, but I did, I from a very young age, I had to grow up. My parents told me at 7 that they were getting separated, and from there, I had to grow up, and I missed out on a lot of my childhood, and that sort of led me into a very toxic relationship. At the age of 14, I was young. Um, since healed through that, made peace, and um, yeah, made peace with that individual. Have healed through through stuff on my own and with that person. Um, but right, like being 7 years old, your parents are getting divorced, having to grow up, first ever relationship you're in being toxic and chaotic and abusive, and um, then that kind of set the stage for the rest of the decisions that I made for a very long time. And it was like just this continuous projection of my trauma, of not feeling safe, of not feeling worthy, of feeling like the love that I was receiving was conditional. And so I had to show up and do things in a certain way. Um, and all of that caught up with me because I was running from it. I was running and running and running, and I can only run so fast. And our body, there's a book that calls Our Body Keeps the Score, or The Body Keeps the Score, something. It really does. Our body holds on to all of it, no matter how much we block things out, or we get hurt, or we experience something, and our brain does what it does, and it tries to protect us and blocks it out. Well, the body holds on to it all, and it gets stored in there. And so the way through to the healing is through feeling all of that pain, and um giving it the space to exist, and finding ways that work for you to heal through that. And for me, that was through nature and being one with nature, going out on hikes, being in like community with the trees and the earth, and grounding in with it, and lots and lots of talking, lots of talking, and getting to the root of these things that were different triggers throughout my day, but certain triggers had the same root. They came from the same root. Going in and doing inner child healing meditations and going back to those painful experiences as my current self and being there for little Ashley and helping to heal her. Um, my journaling practice, my writing, moving that energy through my body, which for me is through hiking, running. I don't really know where I'm going with this. As I'm sitting here talking about this, I'm like, I'm observing my ego come up, and there's a voice inside my head that's like, what's the point of this? Why are you sharing this? And I'm sharing because I can. I'm sharing because I've spent so long caged in my own silence that it nearly killed me. And because someone out there maybe needs to hear this too. And maybe they'll take one of the things I said and start implementing it in their daily life, and it will help them. If they're feeling alone, maybe they won't feel so lonely. And because if I am going to host a podcast and host the space of all of you is welcome, how can I do that without welcoming all of myself into this space? Sharing a part of myself with you all, and allowing myself to truly feel that all of myself is welcome. Because for me, I feel so much. I feel so much all of the time. And having this space, feeling into all of you is welcome, all of me is welcome, gives me so much hope. And it can be so easy to lose sight of that. It can be so easy to lose sight of that hope, of everything that goes on in the world all of the time, not even just during these current times. The duality of life, right? The love and the fear, the destruction and the beauty and the pain and the joy. This space allows me to honor all of it, every single part of it. And I am so grateful to be here, to be able to speak this out, share this space with whoever is watching or listening, and create this space and share this space with me, with myself, all parts of myself. And I am so humbled to be here and excited to continue forward on this journey, however it unfolds and however it blossoms, and have these conversations with you and with others that are invited into this space. And so I am inviting myself and putting an invitation out there for anyone listening or watching. Keep showing up. Show up as your authentic self, even if you have no clue who you are or what that even means. Just keep showing up 1%. I have that tattooed on my arm as a reminder. 1% better, 1% more in love, of love, 1% more hope, 1% more joy, 1% more of welcoming every single part of myself. I look forward to continuing to have these conversations with you all and uncovering more parts of who I am, remembering the divine, unconditional love being that I am. And I trust that it'll land exactly as it's meant to with whomever it's meant to. And this space is open. It is open for all of you. And I am here. I am here. So please, if you hear something that resonates with you, reach out. If there's something that you want me to talk about, reach out to me. I will include ways to contact me in the description of this episode. You're not alone. You are amazing, exactly as you are, just for existing. And all of you is welcome. I love you. Thanks for being here and checking out this week's episode. I am truly grateful for your continued support, which allows this podcast to keep moving forward. This podcast is currently available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you feel the call, please like, comment, or subscribe. It's deeply appreciated. Until next time, let us continue to hold space for our shadows and allow our lights to shine.